I waited all night for him to come home on our anniversary, holding the cake I baked. But when he finally walked in, he smelled like perfume that wasn't mine, and that's when I knew our marriage was already over 3 months ago. I was someone else entirely. I had a husband who loved me, a beautiful home, and what I thought was a perfect marriage. Tonight I'm sitting in a studio apartment that smells like paint fumes, listening to my upstairs neighbor's TV through paper, thin walls. Let me tell how I destroyed everything good in the span of 6 hours. It was our 5th wedding anniversary. I'd taken the day off work to make everything perfect. I spent hours on his favorite chocolate cake, the kind his grandmother used to make. I bought new candles, cleaned the house until it sparkled, and put on the dress he bought me for our first anniversary. The reservation was at 7 p.m. Bay 6030. I was calling his phone, straight to voicemail. Hey, just making sure didn't forget about tonight. The restaurant confirmed our table. Love. By 7:15 I was pacing. David, where are? I'm starting to worry. Call me back. By 8 p.m. the cake was still sitting on the counter, 5 candles waiting to be lit. I called the restaurant to push our reservation back an hour. I'm so sorry, but my husband is running late. Work emergency. Know how it is. The hostess was kind. She'd probably heard this story 1,000 times. By 9 p.m. I'd called his office. Security said everyone had left hours ago. I sat on our cream-colored couch, still in that dress, holding my phone like it might suddenly ring with a reasonable explanation. The cake looked ridiculous now. 5 perfect candles on this elaborate chocolate creation that no one was going to eat. I started making excuses for him in my head. Traffic, dead phone battery, last-minute client crisis. David was ambitious, always chasing the next promotion. That's what I loved about him, right? His drive. But deep down something cold was settling in my stomach. I'd noticed things. Little things. He'd started working later. Weekend calls he took in the other room. New cologne I didn't recognize. When I asked about his day, his answers got shorter, vaguer. How was work? Fine. Busy. What did work on? Just the Henderson project? No. Except I didn't know. He used to tell me everything. By 10 p.m. I'd eaten 3 pieces of anniversary cake standing at the kitchen counter, crying into the frosting. The candles sat there and lit, mocking me. That's when I heard his car in the driveway. I quickly wiped my eyes and smoothed down my dress. Maybe there was still time to salvage this. Maybe he had flowers in the car and a beautiful explanation. The front door opened and David walked in looking wrong. His tee was loose. His hair, usually perfectly styled, was messy. And there was something else. Sorry I'm so late, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. Work ran over and my phone died. I wanted to believe him. I was ready to believe him. But when he hugged me, I smelled it. Perfume, sweet and floral. Nothing like what I wore. Nothing like what I'd ever worn. The scent hit me like a physical. My knees actually wobbled. How was Day? He asked, still holding me, and I could feel his guilt radiating through his shirt. I pulled back and looked at his face. Really looked. There was lipstick. Just a tiny smear near his collar that he'd missed. Pink lipstick. I only wore red. The room started spinning. 5 years of marriage. 5 years of trust and shared dreams and inside joke. 5 years of believing this man was my partner, my safe place, my home. There's cake, I whispered. He looked at the kitchen counter like he was seeing it for the first time. The elaborate cake with its unlit candles. The good china I'd set out. The flowers I'd arranged. Oh God, Sarah, I'm so sorry, I completely forgot what day it was. Forgot what day it was. Our anniversary. The day we promised to love and honor each other. The day we built our entire round. He forgot. While he was with someone else. I didn't confront him that night. I should have. Instead, I went to bed pretending everything was normal while he showered for way too long. I lay there listening to him scrub off evidence of wherever he'd been, whoever he'd been with. And I started planning. Not planning to save my marriage. Planning to destroy his. The next morning, David left for work with on my cheek and a promise to make for the missed dinner. We'll go somewhere fancy this weekend. I'll make it, I promise. I smiled and nodded like the good wife I'd always been. But inside I was already gone. I spent that day calling in sick to work and driving to places David might take another woman. I felt insane doing it, but I needed to know. I needed proof. I found his car at a hotel 20 minutes from our house. A nice hotel. The kind we used to go to for special occasions. I sat in the parking lot for 3 hours until I saw them come out together. She was beautiful, younger than me, long blonde hair where mine was brown, tall and elegant in a way I'd never been. They walked to his car holding hands like we used to. She him goodbye before getting into her own car. A long comfortable that spoke of intimacy and time spent together. This wasn't new. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a relationship. I followed her. I know how that sounds, but I was running on pure adrenaline and heartbreak. She worked at a marketing firm downtown. Her name was Jessica, according to the company directory I found online later. She was 26, I was 32. She had no idea I existed. That night I confronted David. I told him I knew. I showed him the photos I'd taken. He cried, actually cried. It wasn't supposed to happen, he said. Just happened. She's just a friend from work and things got complicated.
How long? I asked.
Sarah. How long, David? 8 months? 8 months? While I was planning our anniversary dinner and buying him birthday presents and talking to my sister about maybe starting a family next year. 8 months of lies. Do love her? I asked. He looked at me with such pain in his eyes, and I knew the answer before he said it. I don't know. Maybe. I'm so confused. That's when something inside me snapped completely. I didn't scream or throw things or demand he choose. I did something much worse. I decided to get even. Get out, I said quietly. Just get out. He left that night to stay at his brother's place, and I started planning my revenge. The thing about betrayal is that it changes at a cellular level. It rewrites DNA. The person I was before finding out about Jessica would never have done what I did next. But that person was dead. the woman sitting in her empty house, staring at a moldy anniversary cake, was someone new. Someone dangerous, someone who was about to make the biggest mistake of her. I picked my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I was looking for. Marcus, David's best friend since college, his best man at our wedding. The one who'd always been a little too friendly, a little too interested in my marriage. The one who'd drunkenly confessed he'd had feelings for me years ago at David's bachelor party. I typed out a message before I could lose my nerve. Hey, I know this is weird, but can we talk? David and I are having some problems and I could really use a friend right now. He responded within minutes, of course. Whatever need. Want me to come over? I stared at those words for a long time. This was my chance to turn back, to take the high road, to handle my failing marriage with dignity and grace. Instead I typed, yes please. And just like that I crossed a line I could never uncross. Marcus showed at my door 40 minutes later with a bottle of an eyes full of concern. He looked exactly like he always had, David's loyal friend, the guy who fixed our sink when David was out of town, who remembered my birthday when my own husband forgot. Sarah, what happened? Sounded upset. I let him in and poured 2 glasses of with shaking hands. The anniversary cake was still on the counter, a monument to my stupidity. David's having an affair, I said without preamble. 8 months, with someone from work. Marcus's face went through a series of emotions, shock, anger, something else I couldn't quite read. He stopped himself. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. But something in his voice made me look at him more closely. Didn't know. He was quiet for too long. Marcus did know. He set down his glass and ran his hands through his hair. I suspected something was off. He's been different lately. Secretive, but I never thought he'd actually. How long have suspected? A few weeks, maybe a month. He kept getting calls during guys' night that he'd step outside to take. And last month when we went to that sports bar he kept checking his phone. A month. People had been seeing signs for a month and no one told me. Why didn't say anything? What was I supposed to say? Hey Sarah, I think husband might be cheating but I have no proof. Would have hated me. And if I was wrong. I understood his position but it's still. Everyone knew except me. We sat in silence for a while drinking and staring at that cake. Marcus kept glancing at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Protective, angry on my behalf. Deserves so much better than this, he said quietly. I looked at him then, really looked. Marcus had always been attractive in a quiet way. Where David was flashy and ambitious, Marcus was steady and thoughtful. He was a graphic designer who actually loved his work. He read books. He remembered conversations. He was looking at me like I was precious. Do you remember what told me at David's bachelor party? I asked. His face went red. Sarah, I never should ha, said, wondered what would have happened if met me first. I was out of line. We're about to marry my best friend. And now, the question hung between us like a loaded. Marcus leaned forward. Nar still married to my best friend. Technically, Sarah. He said my name like a prayer. Don't do this because, don't do something I'll regret. But I was already lost. The betrayal, the way he was looking at me like I mattered, it was intoxicating. What if I won't regret it? I whispered. That's when it was soft at first, tentative. Nothing like the passionate, desperate thing I'd imagined. Just lips touching lips, breath mingling, the taste of impossibility. Then I him back and everything exploded. We ended on the couch where David and I used to watch Netflix, where we'd planned our future and argued about whose turn it was to do laundry. I let Marcus touch me in ways David hadn't in months. I let him whisper things in my ear that made me feel wanted again. But even in the middle of it, I felt hollow. This wasn't about Marcus. This wasn't about desire or connection or love. This was about David the way he'd me. Afterward we lay tangled together on the couch and reality crashed back in waves. Oh God, I whispered. What did we just do? Marcus was quiet for a long time. We made a mistake. A huge mistake. Sarah, I need to know, this wasn't just revenge for me. I've had feelings for years. But this isn't how I wanted it to happen. I looked at him, this good man who just helped me destroy everything, and felt sick. Should go, I said. Sarah, please, just go. After he left I sat on that couch for hours still smelling his cologne on my skin. I thought revenge would feel powerful, satisfying. Instead I felt empty and ashamed and more alone than ever. But I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I drove to David's office. I'd never shown unannounced before, he always said it was unprofessional. But I wasn't the same person who used to worry about David's professional image. I found him in the break room with her. Jessica, even prettier in person, laughing at something he was saying. They looked comfortable together. Natural, they looked happy. When David saw me the color drained from his face. Sarah, what are doing here? Jessica looked between us, confusion dawning on her perfect features. I came to meet girlfriend, I said pleasantly. Hi Jessica, I'm Sarah, David's wife. The break room went silent. Other employees suddenly found reasons to leave. Jessica's mouth fell open. Wife David, said where heart stopped. Divorced. I looked at my husband, my lying, cheating husband who'd been telling his mistress we were divorced. When exactly did we get divorced, David? He looked trapped, panicked. Sarah, please. Not here. When, David? Because I seem to have missed the paperwork. Jessica was backing away from both of us, her face pale. Told me'd been divorced for 2 years, said ex-wife lived in another state. 2 years. He'd been planning to erase me for 2 years. Well, this is awkward, I said, my voice artificially bright, because we actually just celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary. Well, I celebrated. David was busy. I turned to Jessica, who looked like she might cry. Did know he was married when started seeing each other. No, she whispered. I swear I didn't know. He showed me pictures of his apartment, talked about his divorce, his ex who'd moved away. She wasn't the villain I'd wanted her to be. She was just another victim of David's lies. But I was too far gone to care about collateral damage. Well, now no, I said. Enjoy my husband, I'm done with him. I walked out of that office building feeling triumphant for about 30 seconds. Then my phone started ringing. David called 17 times in the first hour. I ignored every call. Then Marcus called. Sarah, we need to talk. David knows. My stomach dropped. What do you mean he knows? He came to my apartment. He's figured out that we're with someone last night and he's putting pieces together. He's on his way to house. I hung and drove home as fast as I could. David was waiting in our driveway, pacing like a caged animal. The moment I got out of my car, he exploded. Slept with Marcus. It wasn't a question. How do? Because I know Sarah, and I know him. The way he couldn't look at me when I showed at his place, the way acting, slept with my best friend. I could have denied it, should have denied it. Instead, I looked him dead in the eye and said yes. He actually staggered backward. How could 8 years of friendship, 20 years for me and Marcus, how could destroy that? The irony was stunning. How could I? I laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to me. We've been lying to another woman about being divorced for 8 months, but I'm the one who destroyed something. That's different. Because Marcus is my best friend. He was supposed to be on my side. And I was supposed to be wife, partner. The person chose above everyone else. We were screaming at each other in the driveway, and I could see neighbors peering out their windows. Want to know the best part? I continued. Jessica had no idea we're married. Told her we were divorced. For 2 years, David. You've been planning to replace me for 2 years. His face crumpled. That's not, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. I was confused. I didn't know how to handle what was happening with Jessica. I panicked and lied to her. But I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And now everyone knows what kind of man really are. That's when he said the words that would haunt me forever. What kind of woman are Sarah? Because the woman I married wouldn't have done this. She wouldn't have slept with my best friend out of spite. He was right. The woman he married wouldn't have done this. But that woman was gone, destroyed the moment I smelled another woman's perfume on my husband's shirt. Get out of my house, I whispered. It's my house too. Get out before I call the police. He left, but not before saying one more thing, that me to the ain, I cheated on Sarah, but became someone I don't even recognize. At least I know who I am. After he drove away, I went inside and looked at in the hallway mirror. He was right. I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me either. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. Mom called. She heard from Aunt Linda, who heard from her neighbor that and David were screaming at each other in the driveway. Are okay? What's going on? The gossip network had already started. By the end of the week, everyone would know that David cheated, and I slept with his best friend in retaliation. I'd wanted to David, but I destroyed so much more than that. I destroyed my marriage, David's friendship with Marcus, my reputation, and most importantly, I destroyed the person I used to be. The person who took the high road, who handled conflict with grace, who believed in forgiveness and working through problems. That person was gone forever. And I was just getting started making mistakes that would cost me everything I had left. I'm writing the final part of this story from a place I never imagined I'd end. It's been 3 months since everything imploded, and I'm finally ready to tell how bad it really got. The gossip spread like wildfire. Within a week everyone knew. David's coworkers, my coworkers, our families, our friends, the neighbors, people at our gym, the barista at our coffee shop. Small town living means business becomes everyone's business, and our business was particularly juicy. The woman whose husband cheated, who then slept with his best friend in revenge. It had all the elements of a perfect scandal. I became that woman, overnight. At first some people were on my side. Good for her. I heard someone whisper at the grocery store. If my husband cheated, I'd do the same thing. But that solidarity didn't last long, because people started talking to Marcus. Marcus, who was devastated by what we'd done. Marcus, who'd lost his best friend and felt like he'd betrayed everything he believed in. Marcus, who started telling people that I'd seduced him while he was trying to comfort me. That wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. I had used him. I had manipulated his feelings for me to get revenge on David, and when people realized that, the narrative shifted. Suddenly I wasn't the wronged wife who deserved sympathy. I was the calculating woman who destroyed a 20-year friendship out of spite. My sister stopped calling as often. Sarah, I love, but what did was wrong. David cheating doesn't excuse what did to Marcus. My mother was more direct. They embarrassed the entire family. I raised better than this. My best friend from college unfriended me on social media after posting a passive-aggressive status about people who let revenge turn them into someone unrecognizable. One by one, people started choosing sides, and they weren't choosing mine. Work became unbearable. I'm a teacher at the local elementary school, and parents started requesting that their children not be placed in my class. The principal called me into her office for a wellness check. That was really an investigation into whether my personal was affecting my professional judgment. Sarah, I need to understand that we have to maintain certain standards here. Parents are concerned about situation. Like I had a disease. My personal has nothing to do with my teaching. Normally I'd agree, but when it becomes public knowledge and affects parent confidence in the school. I was put on administrative leave pending a review. Paid, but still devastating. Teaching was the one thing I'd always been good at, the one part of my identity that felt solid. Now even that was tainted. The divorce proceedings started, and that's when things got really. David's lawyer painted me as an unfaithful wife who'd committed adultery with his client's best friend. Never mind that David had been cheating for 8 months. Never mind that he'd been lying to Jessica about being divorced. In the eyes of the law, we were both adulterers now, But I looked worse because my affair was with his best friend. It looked calculated, cruel, which, to be fair, it was. David wanted everything. The house, the car, half my retirement account. He claimed I'd caused him emotional distress and damaged his reputation. Client destroyed a 20-year friendship and humiliated my client publicly. His lawyer argued. Mr. Thompson is the real victim here. My lawyer tried to argue that David's affair started first. But it didn't matter. I'd crossed a line that made me look like the villain. I had to sell the house to pay legal fees. The house where I'd waited with that anniversary cake. Where I'd built I thought would last forever. Moving out was surreal. Packing 5 years of marriage into boxes, deciding what mattered enough to keep in a studio apartment. I kept the wedding china but sold the dining room table. Kept the books but sold the bookshelf. Kept the memories but lost the. David came by to collect some things while I was packing. We hadn't been alone together since that screaming match in the driveway. He looked tired. Older. The affair with Jessica had ended the day I showed at his office. Apparently. She couldn't handle being with someone who'd lied to her so completely. I never meant for it to end like this, he said quietly. I was wrapping our wedding photos in newspaper, trying not to look at them. How did think it would end? I thought, I hope we could work it out somehow. I laughed but there was no humor in it. Work it out. Told another woman we're divorced for 8 months. I know. But what did with Marcus? Changed everything. I know. We packed in silence for a while. Do regret it? He asked finally. Which part? Marrying, trusting, sleeping with best friend. There's a lot to choose from. All of it. I thought about that question for a long time. I regret who I became, I said finally. I regret that I let betrayal turn me into someone I don't recognize. I regret that Marcus, who didn't deserve any of this. I regret that I destroyed my reputation and my career for a moment of revenge that felt good for about 10 minutes. And us. Do regret us. I looked at him then really looked. At the man I'd loved enough to promise forever. The man who'd made me laugh until I cried and held me when my father died. The man who'd also lied to me for 8 months and told another woman he was divorced. I regret that we weren't strong enough to survive being human, I said. He left after that and I haven't seen him since. The worst part came 2 months later. I ran into Marcus at the coffee shop where David and I used to have weekend breakfasts. He was with a woman I didn't recognize, laughing at something she'd said. When he saw me, the laughter died. Sarah. Hi Marcus. The woman looked between us, and I could see her putting pieces together. This was Sarah, the one who'd ruined everything. I should go, I said. Wait, Marcus caught my arm gently. How are doing? I heard about the job situation. I'm fine. It was a lie and we both knew it. Sarah, I'm sorry. About all of it. The way things ended between David, what happened between us. How everything played out publicly. I looked at this good man who'd been collateral damage in my war with David. I'm the one who should be sorry. I used feelings for me to David, and lost best friend because of it. He wasn't much of a best friend if he could do what he did to Pine, maybe not. But that doesn't make what we did right. Marcus introduced me to the woman he was with. Her name was Lisa, and she seemed nice, normal. The kind of woman who probably handled relationship problems with communication instead of revenge. After they left, I sat in that coffee shop for 2 hours, staring at couples having normal weekend conversations about normal things. None of them looked like they were planning to destroy each other's lives. That night I started writing this story. Not because I wanted sympathy or forgiveness, but because I needed other women to understand what revenge actually costs. I thought sleeping with Marcus would David the way he'd me. And it did him. It destroyed his friendship and made him question everything about the people he trusted. But it destroyed me more. I lost my husband, my home, my job, my reputation, my friends, my family's respect, and most importantly my sense of who I was as a person. David's affair made him a cheater. My revenge made me someone I don't even recognize. 3 months later I'm starting over at 32. New apartment, new job in a different district. New where people don't know my story. I tell people I'm divorced and leave it at that. I went on a date last week. A nice guy from work who asked me out for coffee. Tell me about marriage, he said. What went wrong? I could have told him the sanitized version. We grew apart. Wanted different things. Instead I told him the truth. All of it. He listened without judgment, and when I finished he was quiet for a long time. That must have been incredibly painful, he said finally. Both the betrayal and what did after. It was. Do you think learned from it? I hope so. I hope I never become that person again, he nodded. I think the fact that can see it clearly now. Take responsibility for part, that says something about who really are. Maybe he's right. Maybe the woman I became during those dark weeks isn't my true self. Maybe she was just a scared person making terrible decisions. But she's still part of me now. She's the reason I'll never fully trust in a crisis again. The reason I'll always wonder if I'm capable of being that cruel when I'm in pain. David found someone new, by the way. I saw the engagement announcement in the local paper last month. Her name is Amanda, and she looks nothing like Jessica or me. Maybe he learned something too. Marcus is happy with Lisa. I can see it in his social media posts that mutual friends still share. He deserves that happiness. I'm not bitter about their happiness anymore. I'm genuinely glad they found their way through the wreckage I created. But I'm still here, alone, living with the consequences of thinking revenge would heal the. It didn't heal anything. It just created new wounds that may never fully close. So to anyone reading this who's been betrayed, who's lying awake at night planning how to someone the way they please learn from my mistakes. Pain is real. Anger is justified. Desire for revenge is human. But revenge won't give back what lost. It won't undo the betrayal. It won't make feel better for more than a few minutes. All it will do is turn into someone never wanted to be. And once cross that line, once become the villain in own story, can never completely go back to who were before. I know because I've been trying to find my way back for 3 months now. And I'm starting to think that woman might be gone forever. The scariest part isn't that David stopped loving me, it's that I stopped recognizing, and I'm not sure I ever will again.